Howdy, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Texas Retreat Garden. My name is Jared. This is going to be a first part in a 5-part series I'm doing in regards to how to start a garden. So if you're a brand new gardener, never started a garden before, hopefully this information will be really valuable to you in order to take the necessary steps in order to start that garden correctly and have success. If you're a more advanced gardener and you already have a garden, hopefully you can find some tips and the information I'm giving in order to improve and make your garden more efficient and more productive. But before we get started, I want to mention that most of the information in these videos and in my channel in general is from Mel Bartholomew's book, All New Square Foot Gardening. So I'll go ahead and put the link for this book in the description below so you can check it out. It's great for just all kinds of information in regards to gardening and square foot gardening specifically. So when it comes to gardening or starting a garden, the first thing we're going to look at is location. Like they say in real estate, location, location, location. You want to consider location first, because if you don't get that location right, you can have the perfect fertilizer for your garden, you can have the perfect soil, you can have the perfect crops for the perfect time, but if the location is wrong, you have suboptimal results. And it's very hard once you put that location, when you put that garden in place, to go ahead and move it around. It's not like just changing fertilizers or something like that. Location is going to be something pretty permanent, so you want to make sure you get that right to begin with. So when we're looking at location, there's really 3 different areas we're looking at, 3 different points that we want to look through. So let's go and get started and look at those. So in determining where to put our garden, the first and most important thing to consider is sunlight. So as far as sunlight goes, you want to make sure that you get at least 6 to 8 hours a day for your garden. That's the minimum that a garden's going to need. So as far as sunlight goes, you don't want to just pick a random spot in your garden, just look out there and say, hey, that looks like a sunny spot, I'll just go ahead and plant it there. There's more to consider than that. So choose a spot that that you're thinking about you'd like to put your garden, if it's a sunny spot, and then maybe find a sunny day, and you want to look at the area that you're looking at morning and midday and in the afternoon, and determine how many hours of sun that this area will be getting. Because if you have buildings, fences, trees, anything like that around, as the sun makes its way across the sky, you're going to get shadows from different angles. So if you go out in the middle of the day and you say, hey, look, I got this perfect sunny spot. Well, how about in the morning and evening, you could have a house and a tree in the way, and you might not be getting 6 to 8 hours, even though in the middle of the day it might look sunny. So say in the morning time, the sun rises and hits the house, it's going to be casting a shadow on your garden that way. And then in the middle of the day, maybe the fence is casting a shadow here. And then later on, maybe a tree is casting a shadow right here. So you have to take into consideration the sun moving across the sky and what kind of objects are around the garden that would limit it to under 6 to 8 hours. You want to make sure you get that 6 to 8 hours. So make sure you go out throughout the day, choose your location, and make sure that this location is sunny for 6 to 8 hours. So another thing you have to take into consideration is that in the wintertime, you're going to have a lot of trees, if they're hardwood trees, without any foliage on them. So you might go out and say, hey, look, the sun, I can, getting plenty of sun on my garden here. But the thing is, there's no foliage on the trees. And come summertime, when you do have foliage on the trees, assume it's like a hardwood tree, not like a pine type tree. Pine tree, evergreen, it's going to be other, doesn't matter. But if it's a hardwood type tree, like an oak tree or something like that, then in the summertime, you're not going to have the amount of sun to the garden as you would have in the wintertime. So it's important to ideally check for the sun and everything during the summertime, so you're going to get a full picture of all the trees around you, where exactly you're going to be getting your sun. You can do it in the wintertime, choose where you're going to put your garden and everything, but just have that in the back of your mind, considering that this tree in the summertime is going to be growing the foliage. And you might not get your 6 to 8 hours of sun if you determine wrongly in the wintertime that, hey, I've got plenty of sun here, when in reality, when summer comes, there's going to be a lot of shade there. So the last thing to consider when you're talking about sunlight and getting that 6 to 8 hours is that in the wintertime, you're going to have shorter days, so you're going to have less sun. In the summertime, you're going to have longer days and you're going to have more sun. So let's say we barely have 6 hours during the summertime. Well, in the wintertime, we're going to probably have less than 6 hours, so it's going to be suboptimal. Now, usually wintertime vegetables are going to, usually the types of vegetables you grow in the wintertime are going to need less sun anyways. But if we're barely getting 6 hours here in the summertime, we're going to get less here. So you want to make sure in the summertime you're getting at least 6 to 8 hours so that in the wintertime you'll have enough sun. So after we've considered the sunlight factor and determined and found a spot that has plenty of sunlight for our garden, the next thing we'll consider is the water supply. Now the water supply can be tap water or it can be a rain barrel, but we want to make sure that the water supply is not too far away from the garden to where it's very cumbersome and hard to get water to the area. So you can use garden hose, but we don't want to be stringing 3 garden hoses together in order to get our water to our garden. So that's the number 2 thing to consider, is the water supply proximity to the garden. So after we've considered sunlight, water supply, the third thing is visibility. So when I talk about visibility, I'm talking about how often we actually see the garden during our normal daily routine. So if I'm going to and from the garage or out of my car, I should be able to easily see the garden so that it's kind of on the forefront of my mind, where I don't have to go out of my way to go see the crops, that it's just something that's there. The old saying, out of sight, out of mind, was very true. So if you're not able to see the garden, visualize it and see it every day, whether it's from inside the house or from going to and from the garage, something like that, then you're more likely just to neglect it. So if we can visualize it, we're more likely to take care of it. So considering the first 2, if we have the first 2 down, this will be the third one. This is the least important one, but it still is important. But sunlight and water supply are 1 and 2, and then what really drive home the location would be visibility. So that's all I have for you guys today. Just remember the 3 different things in order of importance as far as determining your location are going to be sunlight, water supply, and then lastly, visibility. So the second out of 5 episodes that I'll be doing in regards to how to start a garden, I'll be looking at how to determine whether we're going to do row gardening, traditional row gardening, or if we should do square foot gardening. So if you found value out of this video, please like and subscribe. And until next time, God bless and have a good day.